So I guess to start, it'd be great just to do a quick intro. More, this is your second stint at Box, so I guess I'll start with how did you end up at Box, and what was your kind of first set of roles at Box, and then why did you come back to Box, and what is the kind of second set of roles look like?
Great question, George, and nice to see everyone today. Dan O'Leary, Senior Director of Partnerships at Box, former Box customer, admin, developer, partner, Box Hall of Fame member. I'm like the super fan. It's in the front row with the jersey and the foam head on. That's me for Box. Was building applications on Box, running company on Box, and really saw the vision of what a content cloud business could be. Now, the reason I'm back is I saw the opportunity of what a intelligent and AI powered content cloud would be, where so much of what we do is powered by AI. And really the opportunity we have is so present because not only of our great developer partner ecosystem, but now our go-to-market partner ecosystem, creating a huge opportunity for partners to build solutions and create really good outcomes for their customers. Having been a partner, I saw an opportunity to help drive that forward, and it's great. Love doing it every day.
And how big was Box when you joined the company, like the first time?
Oh man, the first time I met Box was probably maybe 50-person company. When I officially joined as a Boxer, so we call ourselves Boxers. I don't have gloves. I've not been in any fights recently, but it was probably a 250-person company, under 50 million in revenue. And now we have over 3,000 employees, just crossed $1 billion in revenue. So it's been interesting to see how decisions you made when you're 300 people, have become solidified, and what has changed, what's not changed. I'd say a lot of the things that haven't changed are our culture and our mission and our values. But obviously, we're running a much larger company with a lot more customers, and a lot of the infrastructure and processes have evolved, and it's great. But it's still, I really enjoy coming to work every day. Love working with our customers and our partners.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll jump into two questions. As I said, we'll just kind of let them meander and see where they go. And they're purposely quite open ended. So it was actually while I was in San Francisco when we connected in person a few weeks ago. But while I was there, met another enterprise technology leader, and they said, if they were an exec at a 10-plus-year-old tech company today, and they were trying to figure out AI and what that meant for the company as a non-AI native era entity, they would be tripling down on partnerships as the best defensive move to buy themselves time while they figured that piece out. And I think we've seen a bunch of companies try and make the AI jump. Some have done it really, really well, and others have stuck a chatbot on their product. And so really curious to know kind of what you just think of that statement as a whole, and if you're a partner leader at a 10-year-old plus company, so how are you guys thinking about navigating the AI movement?
Yeah, and I will say that because of the nature of our business being in the content management, content collaboration business, now the evolution into content intelligence is highly logical. We estimate that 90% of our customers' data is unstructured data. And for every Snowflake or Salesforce, there's a bunch of PDFs and Excels and, the collaboration type documents that are coming from inside the organization, outside the organization, still on paper. So we found ourselves in a really good space to be able to help our customers create value from that content, start to process it automatically, start to turn those into agentified workflows where, things that would have had to have been done manually or maybe retyped or even, human intervention can now be done automatically. And even, like we're talking for a reason, guys, there's a ton of reasons to integrate faster. I think, things that used to take 10 times longer, 100 times longer are being disrupted on a daily basis. OpenAI unveils a new 4.1 model. Box has it integrated 4 hours later, and all of a sudden the logical reasoning and creative capabilities that we have native in our product are exponentially greater than they were before. And as a horizontal technology company serving, over 100,000 customers all over the world, from 3-person companies to hundreds of thousands, we're not going to be able to be an expert on every one of our customers, how they're going to need to use AI with Box, the lines of business that they're in, the regulatory environment they're in, the political environment they're in. it's just, I wish we could hire a sales rep and a CSM for all of our 100,000 plus customers, but we can't. But you know what? Our customers do rely on partners. They rely on their channel partners, their system integrators, their ServiceNow partner, their integration partners. And what we realize is that we can surround our customers, then we can actually become part of their ecosystem, and we can help them get more value from our products because we understand what they're trying to accomplish better, and we're able to bring the right partners to help them succeed. Now, AI is just a huge accelerator of that. You have to have the right people, you have to have the right partners, you have to have the right, infrastructure. But if you do, now it's like going from impulse speed, Star Trek style, to warp speed when you put AI on top of it. And I think that does mean, yeah, you should be investing 3 times more, 10 times more. We certainly are, maybe not 10 times, certainly wouldn't mind, but it's absolutely a strategy that we're undertaking.
And do you think, it was that statement that I came across chatting with this individual was, said in a very broad sense. Do you think that's talking to the idea that enterprises should be doubling down on partnering with very, very young startups, the ones that, there's so much funding going into that seed, Series A, Series B level at the moment? Or do you think more it's about partnering with other larger entities, but that have more the collaborative skill sets to make some of the AI tooling possible that you can't do in-house?
Yeah, I think the answer is both. And that may require different types of partner managers or a different approach, because a boutique consultant or a solo consultant in the AI world, it could be someone, who is a 10x or 100x engineer or consultant that is able to help you make an impact so much faster based on their expertise and their knowledge and skills. I have a former customer who has now gone on to do this, and I'm like, man, it's the best person you could work with. But that's obviously very different than the relationship you may have if you already are engaged with Deloitte or Slalom or, a really good larger SI who has a very deep bench of AI knowledge and certifications, knowledge of your industry, knowledge of tools like Box, but also the rest of the things in your stack. So I think both for partner leaders, go-to-market leaders, customer success leaders, it's really about balancing how you go fast versus how you go like wide and long. And you're going to have to, I think, in the short term, especially when you're innovating with AI, I personally like to balance the faster, nimble partners with the larger ones. And it's like, destroyer versus a carrier. You need both in your battle group, but they serve different purposes in your fleet. And from a partner perspective, yeah, you're going to be able to get signal faster potentially from a smaller partner, but you can't ignore those bigger folks because they may have 100,000 people that are going to be out there building with, selling with, creating solutions with your product. So yeah, it's no perfect answer, but I'd say you can't ignore either. You got to cross train.
Yeah. It's got to remind myself when I get Sophie to do the ad for this conversation to brand it like a Star Trek poster.
Yeah, you definitely
touched
can,
every battleship, galactic like reference on the way through it. I think talking to that individual, it was interesting that they were so bullish on partnering being the single best way to buy time for a larger company like themselves to figure out what AI meant for them. Simply because I feel like enterprises are not normally very good at working with startups. Like most mergers, most acquisitions don't work out. So like 75% of acquisitions never actually realize anywhere near the value they spend. And often they're not great at partnering with a startup in the sense of like bringing in the technology. So the idea of trying to triple down on a strategy they're not natively very good at to buy time in the single biggest industrial revolution we've seen since the original industrial revolution seemed a bit far-fetched. But also just considering how long it takes for these entities to move direction, I can see why that's potentially a valuable approach.
And there's money to be spent now. There's budgets to be spent now. There's impact to be had now. But I think in a good way, a lot of the conversations I'm having with customers and partners a year ago, they were very focused on privacy, security, ethics, and it was a default to no. And partners could help break through that and say, well, what about this? Here, could we POC this use case, trial this? Now it's a lot more about, we need to start to think about where we're going to deliver real ROI, real business impact, and do it with, potentially smaller sets of resources. I don't think hiring a bunch of developers for 24 weeks to turn on an integration is feasible anymore when you can vibe code something in an hour or two. And I have had numerous execs ask me why, something was going to take 8 or 10 months when you could do it with Cursor in 2 hours. And you're like, yeah, that is a real conversation. It changes the strategy when you're able to, go 10 to 100 times faster and 10 to 100 times cheaper. You have to reevaluate a lot of things.
Yeah. Lucas, you wanna hop in?
Yes. Dan, you mentioned in the beginning, or the previous question, we talked about consultants firms. Actually, you mentioned in the beginning also that when you joined Box first, you were kind of building Box Consulting. And I think it's also an interesting point for us, also from a partnership perspective, because majority looking at it now, our current partner ecosystem is mostly SaaS companies because we saw the biggest quick win in the first scale. But of course, we also know consulting partners are, besides not only working them, they have expertise to provide to us as a SaaS provider ourselves. They have basically also the keys to a bunch of the enterprises. So we will need to work with them at some point more closely together. So if you were going back thinking, if you were a young company, thinking a young SaaS company, how would you in general maybe approach working with consultancy companies? Maybe what would you be looking for? And how would you select maybe the first 5 to 10? Because I think it's also quality over quantity. You can sign referral agreements with everyone out there, but as you said, that doesn't really bring it to the point of working together.
Yeah, great question, Lucas. And it's not going to necessarily create customer impact. And I think for me, it all starts with working backwards from a customer raving about their experience with a partner, the problems they solved. Before we hit record, I was sharing an example of a customer who integrated with their ITSM system and reduced their employee offboarding time from 3 days to 2 hours. And you're like, that's awesome. Guess what? The customer was super happy. The partner that we worked with was super happy. They loved that outcome. It obviously did a great case study. And surprisingly, we're doing great. We're very happy with that result, that case study. That will ideally be a customer for life. We've earned the right to their business. So I think you have to orient it. Highest level, you have to orient it in the right way. Making sure you have partners and solutions that are creating value for your customers, making it easier to buy, making it easier to integrate, making it easier to get to that solution, to get to that customer outcome. Super critical. Now, okay, so great. You have that orientation, create customer value, create value for your partners. Partners are people too. Let's help them out. Okay, check. Now, I think it really becomes a question of what do you do yourselves as a vendor versus where do you bring in a partner? And this is going to take the approach of a direct sale, a direct technical integration for technology or developer partnerships, as well from a professional services standpoint. So my background, having helped start a professional services team, I got to see this firsthand when our product was much less complex and not interesting to big SIs, for example, to now in an AI-driven world, Box AI is incredibly interesting and valuable to partners, and we can't work with them fast enough. So I think the biggest thing is if I had it to do all over again, or if I was starting right now, I would probably just set a policy to say, I don't know, 80% or 90% of all of the services work we do is going to go to partners. Maybe more, not 100, but you're going to always have some customers that are pushing the envelope, trialing a new product, need something weird. You're going to have to work with them directly. Account for that. But in general, you should want to bring in partners to help you skill up, learn your tools, provide you feedback, be the places you're not. I mean, there's so many reasons the strategy of partnership works when you're scaling your go-to-market business as well as your services business. But I would probably draw that line in the sand and hold myself and others accountable to it, because it's really easy, especially in lean times, to want to do more services yourself. It's easy money. It's non-recurring revenue for a lot of companies. If they're charging for it, or maybe not, maybe it's a cost center you're growing. And in that case, you really should turn to partners, because let somebody make money off of it. Don't just keep giving it away unless you have to. Anyways, I'd say in summary, we can dig in a little deeper about how you select those partners, guys. But at a minimum, create value to the customer and partner, and be really deterministic upfront about when you're going to do work versus when partners are, and come up with a way to strategically align customers with the right partner. That's going to create a really sustainable growth engine, not just for services and for integrations, but really for go-to-market overall.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree there. Especially for us, I think it's big SIs already have certain kind of an integration providers, or they have developer houses that have done, as you said, in the old way, building integrations via hand, building hard coding integrations. Now with our tool, thankfully to the AI, we don't have to do it anymore. We can spin up integrations in minutes to hours,
Boom.
which is
Yeah, I was telling you, I guess what used to take me 12 weeks with one of your competitors' products, I think I estimated it would take me 2 hours with Versori, which that's an angle changer, guys. It's magical.
that is magical. But how would you say is, and it's a great thing, right? And there's I would say, especially with SI, since they're long established companies and also old established companies sometimes, how do you find the right technology savvy people to also believe that they can use that product, or maybe feel comfortable with not referring, but maybe working together with you on that product to bring it to their end clients?
Oh,
Because as you
totally.
know, but in the end, there can be a big difference between a really tech forward company and a more professional service company, which consulting companies in this case are heavy.
Right. And I think that orientation matters. And it also matters. I've seen really big companies move really fast. And like that's okay too. Like I'm working with an accelerator at a large GSI focused on data and AI. And man, they are fast. That is, they are working faster than any startup. You know, their paychecks come in on time. Like it's a really good setup for them. So I don't want you to use size as a proxy. So generally when I evaluate partners, and I borrowed this from my friend Jody that I worked with at Meta a few years ago, but he used to call it the 4C model. And I'm like, dude, are we shopping for diamonds here? What 4Cs are you talking about? So it's not cut and clarity. No. It's capacity, competency, commitment, and culture, right? So do you have enough people? Are you skilled up? Are we ready to work together? Obviously, those are table stakes. You can't have a successful partnership in the enterprise without those things. But the key thing, the missing thing, the thing that most people don't start or end with is culture. And that to me looks at your mission, your vision, your values, why you do what you do, why you care about what you care about. And like, you know, are you vibing? Like whatever. Like when you show up in the room together in front of a customer, or when that partner's in the room without you, do you trust that that's going to go really well? Are they going to represent you well? Do they understand your ideal customer profile and their pains? Are they willing to take the time to work with you well? And those partnerships I've seen deliver 100x value. My top partner Meta, when I was working on a product there, was a company like this. And they outperformed every other partner combined because we were so mission and culture and vision aligned. So if you can get that and you can sort for that, it can be like hugely impactful to deliver partner growth and really help you shape that category, because you're not, you know, and it helps you get that next partner, maybe that bigger partner that you want, because you have the social proof, you have the case studies, and you're able to get that quickly. And just like a startup is trying to, you know, get to product market fit, and you have an early GTM motion, selling motion, early partner motions are similar, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. There's one point where you say if all those 4Cs match, even if all 4Cs do match, what I think is one important thing that even after that, I think it's part of the 4Cs, is activation and enablement. Which, do you think there's in general anything that since you've been in the game for multiple years, is there something that
I got one for you.
that's something that you think you found unique that stands out, or maybe even if you learned maybe something, a difference between activating a SaaS company or an SI company? Because generally they are, as you said, professional services to selling a SaaS product are different. Of course, there are core things that are the same, but I think there's still some different things when it comes to activation.
Big time. Oh, and I love you called it activation. It's so critical. The fact that that's the language we're using is very important, because historically we've called this training. And guys, you train animals, you don't train partners, okay? Like I don't have a whistle and I don't have fish. So we're not training anybody. We're activating them. We're enabling them. We want them to be successful. We want them to represent our products well, our companies well, to be knowledgeable in front of their customers, to deliver products with, you know, high outcomes and reduce risk. Okay. So like activation is absolutely the right word. I think there's also the changing, like the workforce is changing. You know, the days of sitting through 8 hours of training in a classroom are over. And the 23-year-old in the workforce today has more training on ChatGPT and AI than probably like nearly anyone at the company. And they also have, been trained by Instagram Reels and TikTok. So like you have to think about activation enablement as delivering the right piece of content in the right way, in the right format. And that could be your partner portal. That could be on LinkedIn. That could be on X. That could be like we do partner webinars. It could be joining a podcast. But it could also be making sure your API documentation is super well commented and updated so that when it's ingested into a tool like Versori and you query it with an AI agent and you go, why isn't this working? It returns the right thing for you when you vibe code it. And you're like, all of those things are activation, one for a sales persona, one for a developer persona, one for a marketing persona. And if you think about, meeting people where they're at, I think you can do it really well. But it's a huge evolution from training to activation and an ongoing conversation. It will not stop because we're competing for attention. And that's why, when I think about activation, I'm trying to think of how can I help this person be successful. I think the last thought here, guys, is something I think about a lot with partners is they make money selling their time and services. If they're talking to me, they're not getting paid. So I got to be really intentful about when I bring them to a meeting or ask them to work on something, that's going to be impactful so that I'm not asking them to spend time with me. That's not going to result in any, client impact or revenue. And some of these folks these days, they're operating at a, 90% chargeability. Like they don't have time. So you better be really, really tight when you do work them.
Yeah. I mean, the last point is significant, right? The more they talk with you as a partnership manager, the less they are actually working on generating revenue for each other, finding combined opportunities.
Yeah.
And the more they actually don't need you, the better job you did.
Yep. And that's the thing, guys, is as you scale these things up, it's not like you ever forget these partners. Quite the opposite. I mean, I've had some partners here for more than 10 years that continue to deliver incredible results that have hundreds or thousands of joint customers, but they've also helped us write a playbook that is helping us scale into those, super large GSIs. And now we're working with a practice within a partner and thinking more strategically that, you got to be able to do both, but I've found many companies that only do one or the other. And if you just go after the big ones, it's really, really hard. Like Accenture has 300,000 people. Even if you put a team of 10 on it, you're like, you're just outmatched, guys. That's just math. You have no chance. So you better have something that's really appealing. And that's where those, value to customer comes in. If you're creating customer impact that's taken integrations and work from 3 days to 2 hours, you can get some attention and then you can start to build some stuff together.